Hi, so good afternoon and welcome back to my magical world. It's me, Frostbite, your favorite celebrity here in the Philippines. It's 16:41 in the afternoon. Kasabi lang. Today is Thursday, November 21st, 2020. Wait lang. 2024, my God. My head has a lot of thoughts that it needs to process. So, ayan. Let's start reading. We're on to page 99 and 100 of the book Mastery. Yan taray, di ba? Malayo-layo ng ating natapos. So, the same morning, the institution's laboratory assistant had been fired for insubordination. They needed to replace him immediately. And Davy had recommended young Faraday. The job mostly involved cleaning bottles and equipment, sweeping and lighting fireplaces. The pay was low, considerably lower than what he could gain as a bookbinder, but Faraday hardly believed his good fortune accepted on the spot. His education was so rapid it shocked him. It was nothing like progress he had made on his own. Under his mentor's supervision, he learned how to prepare Davis chemical mixtures, including some of the more explosive varieties. He was taught the rudiments of chemical analysis from perhaps the greatest living practitioner of the art. His responsibilities began to grow, and he was given access to the lab for his own experiments. He worked night and day to bring a much needed order to the laboratory and its shelves, and slowly their relationship deepened. Clearly, Davy saw him as a younger version of himself. That summer, Davy prepared to go on an extended tour of Europe and invited Faraday to come along as his laboratory assistant and valet. Valet or valet, I'm not really sure. Check nyo na lang, guys. Okay. So, although Faraday did not relish the thought of acting as a personal servant, the chance to meet some of Europe's most preeminent scientists and work so closely with Davy on his experiment, he traveled with a kind of portable laboratory, was too much to pass up. It was best to be around him as much as possible and soak up his knowledge, his whole way of thinking. During the trip, Faraday assisted Davy on a particular experiment that would leave a lasting impression on him. The exact chemical composition of diamonds had long been in dispute. They appeared to be composed of carbon, but how could something so beautiful be made of exactly the same substance as charcoal? There had to be more to its chemical composition, but there was no known way to divide a diamond into its constituent elements. It was a problem. Wait lang. Wala tayo, guys. It was a problem that had baffled many scientists. David had long entertained the radical idea that it was not the elements themselves that determine the properties of things. Perhaps charcoal and diamonds had precisely the same chemical composition, but it was changes in their underlying molecular structure that determined their form. This was a much more dynamic view of nature, but Davy had no way to prove this until suddenly traveling through France, an idea for the perfect experiment came to him. After being reminded that one of the most powerful lenses of the time resided at the Accademia del Cimiento in Florence, Davy made a detour. Okay na kayo, guys. a detour there. Gaining permission to use the lens, he placed a diamond in a tiny glass globe containing pure oxygen and used the lens to focus intense sunlight on the globe until the diamond completely evaporated. Inside the globe, all that remained of the diamond was carbon dioxide gas, proving that it was indeed composed of pure carbon. Therefore, that turned carbon into either charcoal or a diamond must involve a change in the underlying molecular structure. Nothing else could explain the results of these experiments. What impressed Faraday was the thought process that was into these. So, hi again, guys. This is just a continuation from the last time that I wasn't able to finish. Okay, so I hope you're doing well. I'm gonna refilm again. Aray ko. In a bit. Dali lang. Tapusin lang natin to. Okay. So what impressed Faraday was the thought process that went into this. From a simple speculation, Davy found his way to the one experiment that would physically demonstrate his idea by excluding all other possible explanations. This was a highly creative way of thinking, and it was the source of Davy's power as a chemist. On his return to the Royal Institution, Faraday was given a pay increase and a new title, assistant and superintendent of the apparatus and mineralogical collection. Yan. So, and soon a pattern developed. Davy liked to spend most of his time on the road, trusting Faraday's growing skills. He would send him back to all kinds of mineral samples to analyze. Davy had slowly grown dependent on his assistant. In letters to Faraday, he praised him as one of the best analytic chemists he knew. He had trained him well, but by the year 1821, Faraday had to confront an unpleasant reality. Davy was keeping him under his thumb. After 8 years of an intense apprenticeship, he was now an accomplished chemist in his own right. With expanding knowledge of other sciences, he was doing independent research, but Davy was still treating him as an assistant, making him send pockets of dead flies for his fishing lures and assigning him other menial tasks. It was Davy who had rescued him from the drudgery of the book-binding business. He owed him everything, but Faraday was now 30 years old and he were not allowed soon enough to declare his independence. His most creative years would be wasted as a laboratory assistant. To live on bad terms, however, would ruin his name in the scientific community, especially considering his own lack of reputation. Then finally, Faraday found a chance to separate himself from his overbearing mentor, and he exploited this opportunity to the maximum. Scientists throughout Europe were making discoveries about the relationship between electricity and magnetism that was not linear and direct, but apparently more circular. Nothing in nature would like this. How to reveal the exact shape of these effect or environment or movement in an experiment became the rage, and soon Davy got involved. Working with a fellow scientist named William Hyde Wollaston, they proposed the idea that the movement created by electromagnetism was more like a spiral. Involving Faraday in their experiments, they devised a way to break up the movement into small increments that could be measured. Once was all added up, it would show the spiral motion. Yan guys, tapos na. Okay, so I'm glad you are still with me. Mamaya babagalan natin yung pagbabasa. Kahit ako nagmamadali eh. This later you'll know. So may na tayo magchika. I'll just cut it, and thank you guys for listening, and thank you for helping me make this world a better place for all of us and for the future generation. Ano pa? Subscribe! My God! Para man kayong hindi na grade 2. I'll see you again.